Because it's not decoding anymore, the chatter stops. And at first I was shocked to find myself inside a silent mind, but then I was immediately captivated by the magnificence of energy around me. And because I could no longer identify the boundaries of my body, I felt enormous and expansive. I felt at one with all the energy that was, and it was beautiful there. Then all of a sudden, my left hemisphere comes back online and says to me, hey, we got a problem, we got a problem, we got to get some help. So it's like, okay, I've got a problem. But then I immediately drifted back, right back into the consciousness, and I affectionately referred to this space as La La Land. It was beautiful there. Imagine what it would be like to be totally disconnected from your brain chatter that connects you with the external world. So here I am in this space, and any stress that related to me, to my job, it was gone. And I felt lighter in my body. And imagine all of the relationships in the external world and the many stresses related to any of those, they were gone. I felt a sense of peacefulness. See, all this stuff, all this stress, all this stuff that causes such grief and stops us from finding joy, it's all body-computer stuff, not consciousness. I'm at the top. And imagine what it would feel like to lose 37 years of emotional baggage. Body-computer stuff. I felt euphoria. Euphoria was beautiful. And then my left hemisphere comes online and it says, hey, you've got to pay attention. We've got to get help. And I'm thinking, I've got to get help. I've got to focus. So I've got to call help. I've got to call work. I couldn't remember the number at work, so I remembered in my office I had a business card with a number on it. So I go to my business room, I pull out a 3-inch stack of business cards, and I'm looking at the card on top, and even though I could see clearly in my mind's eye what my business card looked like, I couldn't tell if this was my card or not, because all I could see was pixels. Because this is not decoding, the left brain's not decoding reality into this state that we perceive normally, now she's starting to see levels before that decoding process takes place, and it's pixels. Because on one level, as I keep saying, this reality is digital. And the pixels of the words blended with the pixels of the background and the pixels of the symbols, and I just couldn't tell. And I would wait for what I call a wave of clarity, and in that moment I would be able to reattach to normal reality, and I could tell that's not the card, that's not the card, that's not the card. It took me 45 minutes to get 1 inch inside that stack of cards. In the meantime, for 45 minutes, the hemorrhage is getting bigger in my left hemisphere. I do not understand numbers, I do not understand the telephone, but it's the only plan that I have. So I take the phone pad and I put it right here. I take the business card, I put it right here, and I'm trying to match the shape of the squiggles on the card to the shape of the squiggles on the phone pad. Eventually the whole number gets dialed and I'm listening to the phone, and my colleague picks up the phone and he says to me, woof, 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 woof. And I'm thinking to myself, oh my gosh, he sounds like a golden retriever. And so I say to him, clear in my mind, I say to him, this is Jill, I need help. And what comes out of my voice is, whoo, whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. And I'm thinking, oh my God, I sound like a golden retriever. And so I didn't know that I couldn't speak or understand language until I tried. Because when I speak now, what goes between my mouth and people's ears is a vibrational frequency. The brain, through the senses, decodes that into sound. And decodes it, the left brain, decodes it into language. When it ceases to do that, we sound like a golden retriever because the process of decoding is not working as it should. And Jill Bolte-Taylor, thank goodness, made a full recovery. And if you go onto the internet and you put her name in, there's a 20-minute video in which she tells her story. She tells it very well indeed, because it gives so many insights into the nature and illusory nature of reality which she experienced. So when the two are working in unison, that's perfect. And when we take psychoactive drugs, that opens channels that are not normally open, and we have senses of reality that we don't normally experience. This is the key to the conspiracy on this level. So I asked Neil Haig to put soldiers across the entrance to the left brain, because that's what this society is doing. It's trying to hold us in the left brain state of reality, and so we do not access to the extent that we should this level of the side of the brain, which takes us out into another awareness. And, you know, when I talk at events like this, which attract people who are, at the very least, opening their minds, because we're all opening our minds, because it's a process, I just give it as I see it. But when I talk at places like the Oxford University, which I spoke at last year, I think it was last year, I'm talking to these elite Oxford students, thinking, how do I put this in baby steps so these people are going to get it? Serious. And I went there and I put it in baby steps, and some of them still didn't even get it, what I was trying to get across. Why? Because they are absolutely stuck in that. And that because of the nature of the process they've been through to become elite Oxford students, and as a result of that, that does not compute anything that comes into unity and the vaster vision of self. And where do the great elite Oxford students go to? They go into science, they go into politics, they go into law, they go into medicine. And that's why we have the society that we do. As this man said, an intellectual is someone whose mind watches itself. Someone who is conscious is someone whose consciousness watches the mind and sees the difference between the two. And the left brain prison is in so many ways the reason we live in an imprisoned global society. Breaking out of that is to open the door to freedom. Because then we're in this world, but we're not of it. And because that state is so different to the current norm, that's why those people stand out as they do. René Descartes, the French mathematician and philosopher, defining who we are, said, "I think, therefore I am." I would take that further and say, on that level of mind, it's "I compute, therefore I am." But there's another level beyond that which we'll come to. And so, because the body is a computer, especially vulnerable when it's disconnected from consciousness, it can be programmed. And what the population of the world is being subjected to all the time from within the inner sanctum of this conspiracy, beyond the Bushes and the Obamas, the people you never see, they know how this system works and they structure society to exploit it. And therefore we're being subjected constantly to mass hypnosis, getting us to see the world in a certain way by programming the way the brain reads reality. This guy, Paul McKenna, I'm sure he's known in Australia, he's known in Britain very much, and also increasingly in America. And he's made his name by getting people onto television programs who have phobias and all the other stuff. And at the end of the program, when he's taken them away and done certain things to them, they either have much less extreme phobia or no phobia at all. And what he's doing, in effect, is deleting the hard drive. He's deleting the program in the mind that manifests as that phobia. This is how extreme it can get. On this program, Top Gear, very, very popular in Britain, they had Paul McKenna on, he's in the background there, and they had this guy, Richard Hammond here, and they took him out, and Richard Hammond thought he was just going to take this Paul McKenna around the track in a car. But what he couldn't remember, because that's what happens with mind control, is that Paul McKenna had told his mind, or hypnotized his mind, that every time he said a certain word or flicked his fingers, this guy, Richard Hammond, was just going to go unconscious. And then he would be told things, and then he would react. So they're standing outside this car, and they're just chatting away normally, and suddenly McKenna says whatever he said, keyword, trigger word, and Hammond goes,